Welcome back to my channel. I'm excited to be here with you guys today to do this video. I don't think it's working. Hold on one sec. I think I have... Hi everyone, I think we're back. Sorry for the kind of blip. The internet went down, but now it's back up again. So welcome, and we're going to do this video for the midpoints in astrology. The sun is bending the nodes between the south and the north node, so I think it's a good time for us to sort of take a look at what's going on with the chart and how that applies to your zodiac sign. Last time I just got right into the astrology. So first of all, let me just ask if anybody's going to be around for the whole video, because then we can use the dice, which I think would be my preference today. So I need a volunteer who would like to just make sure that I'm on track with the dice rolling. So let me know if you're available to watch the whole video and help me stay on track. Anyway, it's nice to be back. I filmed a Venus and Pisces video 2 days ago. The settings were sort of messed up, or whatever, just like the intro today. So if you haven't seen it, I'll put it in the description when the video is posted. And then you should watch it because it's good. It's a good video. Okay. And the second thing that I want to remind you guys, that if you're not a member, because members get this by default, but if you're not a member and you want to see a video from me, it might be a good idea for you to comment and like the video, because then you're telling the algorithm that you want to see my content again. I've been away for a long time, so therefore, you know, the content may get missed, or you just have to reintroduce that you're interested into for the content, for the algorithm. Tell the algorithm that you're interested in it. Anyway, so I'm here to talk to you guys about the sun bending the nodes. It's an interesting aspect that's formed over us at this time. It's not so rare because it happens about twice a year, and essentially the midpoint, so let me show you on the chart and then I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So the nodes are in Taurus and Scorpio, as we know, and so when the sun reaches the halfway point between the nodes being between the signs that the nodes are in, that's called the midpoint, or it's also called bending of the nodes. And so this is kind of a position right in between the eclipses. And so the next eclipse that's happening is on April 20th. And so therefore we have a few months, 3 months or so before it's going to happen. So we're at this position here in Aquarius in which the sun is bending the nodes. So it's an interesting thing in astrology because it is the position at which it's the maximum stability, in a sense, in terms of what we are experiencing in the world. As we see the nodes as being positions of transition, when we reach this position with the sun and with other transits, that's when everything sort of reaches the point of what it's supposed to be for this time, or it's the maximum amount of time from the instability that the nodes introduce. Now, because I was away, we didn't talk so much about what the nodes are doing in Scorpio and Taurus. Let me know in the comments if you are interested in hearing a dedicated video for the nodes, even for the last little bit, which is still important. I think that that was probably the video that I didn't do, that I missed the most not doing, because I think it's very relevant to what's happening at this time. So let me know if you're interested in more of an in-depth explanation of the nodes, even though I'm not, it's the end of that transit. So before we get into the nodes in Aries and Libra, do you want me to talk about the nodes in Taurus and Scorpio? They're very important. So I'm going to introduce them a little bit here. And so I'll give you guys an idea, because the sun squaring the nodes is kind of contextualized based on that. So for today's reading, for today's astrology, this is more of a kind of centered, grounding, kind of mindful moment. And so this reading is more about mindfulness, about realizing where we're at, understanding the mechanics of the world and what's happening around us and how it's impacting us. And so so if you're looking for that kind of self-awareness sort of reading, or life awareness reading, this is it. So the South Node in Scorpio is a very powerful transit. Now, in astrology, there are two different interpretations of where the nodes are exalted, or where the nodes are at their most powerful. Some astrologers state that the nodes are exalted in Gemini and Sagittarius. The North Node is exalted in Gemini, while other astrologers state that the nodes are exalted in Taurus and Scorpio. I think both positions are very important for their own reasons. And so, as we know in the world and in our private lives, it's been a huge couple years, and it makes sense because the nodes have been transiting in these signs. So it's too bad that I didn't get a chance to go through this with you sooner, but just understand that the nodes in Scorpio and Taurus are very significant. For those people who are new, let's just explain what the nodes are. So the nodes are not an actual physical body in space. They're not the moon, they're not a planet, they're not a star. They are positions at which the moon is at the ecliptic. So the ecliptic is the theoretical disk around the Earth from which we see the sun. So when we see the sun at par, that's the ecliptic, okay? So from the Earth's vantage point. And so as the Earth goes above it and below it, it crosses these positions, and that's when it's flush. That's when they're all lined up, 1, 2, 3. And that's what produces an eclipse, because one body crossing the ecliptic in front of the other, depending if it's a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, obscures the light of the sun and produces a certain type of effect, either a shadow on the Earth or a shadow on the moon. That's when we get that red moon. That's the shadow of the Earth from the sun. So it depends on what kind of lunar event it is, but that's what an eclipse is. And so the nodes essentially state that this is the position at which the sun and the moon is at the ecliptic plane. So they're the intersection of the ecliptic plane, where the moon is exactly flush with it, producing an eclipse. And so the eclipses don't happen exactly at the nodes, because as we know, full moon and a new moon is when the eclipse happens. And so that may be a few days or even a week after or before the exact position of where the moon would be at the nodes, because of course the moon and the sun have to be together or apart for that to happen, right? So that's why I think that the next time we have a conjunction between the sun and the North Node will be April 24th through the 25th. However, the next eclipse is going to be on April 20th, so just a few days before. So that's how that works. So I hope that helps you guys understand that the nodes are essentially positions at which the eclipses happen. This produces a lot of change and therefore a lot of instability. It's very similar to the idea of Mercury retrograde, because when Mercury retrograde happens, there's a lot of communication going back and forth everywhere. And so when there's this energetic change with Mercury going retrograde, suddenly there are miscommunications that happen, or lapses in communication that happen. And so therefore there's miscommunication that happens between people. And imagine everyone in the world, all 8 billion of us, miscommunicating with each other at the same time, it's almost like a ricochet off each other, and so therefore mishaps happen a lot. So eclipses, it's the same idea. It's a more forceful energy affecting everyone, all 8 billion of us, and so therefore it's more of like a ricochet, or think of racquetball in a closed room where you play tennis. It's like a tennis-like sport inside. It can be very fast-paced, and the ball can, just bounce off the wall very quickly. So that is kind of why eclipses are what they are, and that's why the nodes are so important, because at the time in which a full moon or a sun moon, new moon happens near the eclipses, near the nodes, a lot of changes happen as a byproduct of that kind of forceful change. So we're in the midpoint right now because the sun is right between the nodes, and so this is kind of our cathartic moment, the moment at which we sit back and ponder and consider how were the last 3 months. So the last eclipses were in Scorpio and in Taurus, and now you can sit back and think to yourself, what's changed. We've had a very busy last few months, right? Especially in the world and on personal level. It feels very intense, energetically at this time. The energy has been very intense. Mars retrograde happened, of course. And with that, there's been a lot of shifts in the world. And so very interesting time. So there's definitely lots for us to think about. Now, like I said, I wanted to explain what the nodes in Scorpio and Taurus mean, because they're important. So South Node in Scorpio, and this is just a superficial, very kind of giving you an idea of what to think about. Wherever your South Node is transiting, it is really uprooting deep-seated and very integrated emotions and beliefs that you hold about a particular area of life where this Scorpio is in your chart. Now, there are different house systems that people use. This seems like a whole house system, but I use Placidus actually on one-to-one readings. This is just for a generic chart for everyone altogether, because that's what makes sense. But the South Node in Scorpio, however it fits in your chart, whether it's Scorpio sits in one house altogether, between a couple houses or several houses even, wherever that 8 degrees of Scorpio is right now, you're probably confronting very deep truths about yourself, and maybe some of those deep truths even have to do with past lives, or think of it as very philosophical, very, very integrated with the feelings and the thoughts of society and the world around you. Some of those things may be very hard to confront, like the hard truths that are very difficult for us to face about ourselves and about the people around us. And so as the South Node goes through Scorpio, we are not challenged, but this is what happens in life. We are brought to being set free from things that are very stuck, very, very stuck. And so this happens with the South Node in all the signs, but in Scorpio it's particularly deep, I would say, and it's particularly connected with the subconscious and deep connections. Wherever you have Scorpio in your chart, it's like a very intense position in your chart. So this is where you could have, if you have it in like a family house, something connected with your family, you have very deep experiences with your family. Then if you have a Scorpio, let's say if you're like an Aries rising or so, and you have Scorpio in the 8th house, you have powerful connections with people. Your relationships with others, especially how you share things with others, is just very intense. So we'll talk about this in another video, but hopefully you have an idea of the intensity that the South Node in Scorpio brings. It's really an uprooting, and it's especially connected with past lives, especially connected with things that, so past lives, I don't want to be, preaching to you which to believe, because one thing, if you're new, it's really good to keep in mind that there are many ways to think about the South Node, past lives, and all those things. There's people who believe in past lives, there's people who believe in other things, and you have to give people like room to believe what they believe. And I essentially think, this is just my personal view, that we're all sort of believing about the same thing in different ways. So you just don't want to, you know how people get upset that someone doesn't believe spiritually or religiously what they do. I essentially think we all kind of are talking about the same mountain from different perspectives. That's like one of the oldest metaphors that I've used on this channel, but I really believe that it's a difference in perspective. So there's no reason to be upset if someone told me today that they're Joan of Arc, you know, reincarnated. Cool. Okay. I'm not going to question that, right? And other people don't even believe in reincarnation. I actually think that it's more of a like a gelatinous amoeba type object beyond our sphere of comprehension. That's my personal belief. So there's something there, but I don't think that we're like, I don't personally believe that we're literally one energy manifest, but maybe we're like expressions of it. But I think it goes beyond the 3D. It goes beyond our 3D experience. And I'm not talking about 8D spirituality stuff. I'm talking about just things that we can perceive. And so therefore it becomes sort of difficult for us to discuss because it's not something that's within our sense perception. We're not able to perceive it. So there's something there. That's what I'm saying. There's something there, and it manifests in our world through all these spiritual, wonderful things and all of these mysteries that we experience. All the things that we're perceiving are just manifestations. If you know about like how a 2D perception could perceive the third world, it kind of jumbles it up because it's not able to perceive the third dimension, and how the third dimension perceives the fourth dimension. We experience the fifth dimension as time, and we're not able to fully grasp what time really is. Our perception of whatever's happening is time. So anyway, without getting into all of that, but it kind of gives you the vibe, hopefully, to understand that the South Node in Scorpio is something bigger than you. And however you think about it is okay. So whether you believe that you're Joan of Arc or whether you believe you're an angel or remanifest, that's okay. That's your story, and you should delve into that. And if you believe more like I do, that it's more kind of not concrete and not one thing, then that's okay too, and work within what you were given, the language that you were given, use it to your betterment and reinforce your perception, and, you know, be open to what comes. So when the South Node goes through Scorpio, whatever that is for you, this is a hard conversation because it's complex and many people have different perceptions of it. So whatever that is for you, you know, when the South Node is in Scorpio, just explore it and embrace it, and it allows you to, in some way, there's energy blockages, as we know, that are stuck at times, and sometimes that manifests as the same experience over and over again. Sometimes it manifests as an inability to achieve something in one's life. Sometimes it manifests as lots of different things, right? Blockages. And so sometimes these are rooted possibly in past lives, or possibly there's another way of interpreting the South Node that's not to do with past lives that I think we should kind of touch on now. That's really interesting. One of the ways to consider the South Node is, this is more of a psychological way of interpreting it. It's family systems theory, in which sort of in family systems, in psychology, families or diseases such as mental health diseases, they function not solitarily. everybody's connected in the family group. And so if you have ever had someone in your family really struggling with a mental health condition or something else, you'll know that it's not really an isolated thing, is it? And I'm not trying to blame anybody else around the person who's suffering, but it's always a dance between all the individuals in the family together. And so it's the idea that, a person who's experiencing symptoms of depression, let's say, there may be other people in their family who are also experiencing other symptoms. Maybe they are not depressed themselves, but they may have other things like avoidance or stress or something else. And so it all works together. So this is for years I've taught this, but another way of thinking about the South Node without considering it as a past life event is family histories. How many of us, each of us has a family history. And so that family history goes down in generations and over time. And the idea is that not through a past life, but through social conditioning and learning from each other, we adopt certain attitudes, beliefs, and visions of ourselves that we share with our family group. So it's more of a scientific way of thinking of the South Node. So, for example, your grandparents went through a famine, which many of our grandparents went through famines around the world. Just 100 years ago, there were famines everywhere that killed hundreds of millions of people. And then also the plague, of course, also killed hundreds of millions of people. So we all share that. Most of us have ancestors who have gone through famine or plague. And so therefore, if you think about that consequences on people such as gaining weight or people who are chronically overweight oftentimes have heredity that's connected to famine. And so that's why their body is predisposed to gaining weight a certain way, because their ancestor had it. So in mental health, it's a very similar sort of idea in which certain people in your family went through certain things. And so there's this conditioning and learning and all these responses that we actually learn and pass down to each other, both genetically, but also through nurture, teaching each other what to expect, how to treat other people, and what values to believe in. So the South Node is also connected to that concept, which is not spiritual, and it has to do with the scientific transition of lessons and experiences through family members. And then you can kind of think about it, and I don't want to make this all about the South Node, and like I said, I should have done a whole video on this, but there's also a hybrid in which we as souls, and this is something that I'm very open to, we as souls are meshed together with our family members, and so when we pass and when we transition and are born, we're always still with the same groups of people. And so when we connect with others and everyone, essentially, like I think of this as like the person down the street, as we connect with others, we're all in this long river of reincarnation, but it's not specific. So it's not like you were this individual and then your mother was an individual and then your brother was an individual. It's more of again, it could split in belief, it could be specific people, or it could be just a web of energy traveling together through lives. So that's like a hybrid of this idea of reincarnation into being a specific individual, into a more ambiguous web of energy that's shared between families. And by applying family systems theory to that, you can kind of see that it's not just solitary individuals that are adopting energies from one person. So when people come for an appointment, when they get a consultation and they ask, what did I do in a past life to get this experience with this karmic, a problematic term we'll talk about another time, it could be a variety of things. And if you consider that maybe reincarnation isn't individual, but it's actually collective, then maybe it's more of you're just the conduit of an energy at a particular given time. So, and so, yes, Julie, thank you for asking. This gives me a good transition. Julie, who's a member, asked, does the South Node help clean out karmic wounds? And so, therefore, because there's so much to do with the past, both lived experiences and past lives, and past generations, yeah, that when the South Node gets into Scorpio, and this is why it's so significant, it really gets in there and cleans it out, and it really removes, everything, and especially the stuck bits, the very, because Scorpio is always, think of Scorpios in caves and, kind of etched into the corners and dark recesses of things. So yeah, so Scorpio South Node is, all of us have been doing a massive cleanse, a massive cleanse of karma. It won't ever get it 100%. So to get your perfectionist cap off and just think about it abstractly, but it's a process. And so whenever the South Node goes through Scorpio, we're getting wrong set right, things that are blocked getting removed and moving forward in healthier ways. And so whenever we see the nodes in Scorpio and Taurus, there is this massive social change that happens. This happened in the 30s with the Great Depression. It's happened many times over. And whenever there is a transition, like whenever the nodes are in this position, there is a fundamental transition in a material world. So the North Node in Taurus is actually to do with physical things. So we're releasing things on that spiritual level that I discussed. And as the North Node in Taurus is really talking about rebuilding structures. And so this time around was very special because Uranus was with North Node in Taurus. And remember last year on July 31st through August 1st, Mars, Uranus, and the North Node joined together in Taurus. And I told you guys something's changing and something's transforming. So I didn't have the opportunity to get really deep into that. And I think I should make another video because we're already at 30 minutes. So, but I wanted to center us. I wanted us to kind of remember what this is all about. So I'll do another video or figure out something else for this content. Suffice it to say, the North Node in Taurus is about restructuring. But the real engine that's pushing things along is being set free from karmic or life experiences, or these very complex systems that none of us fully understand. Whoever's telling you, justifying it, they're probably simplifying it and they're missing the point. So be comfortable with the unknown or open-ended rather than looking for a definitive outcome or definitive solution. And hopefully that will help. So yeah, so when we have North Node in Taurus, as we have had, I would really focus back onto August 1st, 2022, because that was the very rare, there was two really rare conjunctions that happened last year. The first one we talked about last time with Venus and Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces. That's once in a humanity, 27 degrees of Pisces. I didn't really look into exactly the previous ones again. I looked last year, but I didn't look again. So I'm pretty sure that at 27 degrees this didn't happen before. So this is a once in a humanity moment that happened in late April last year. So watch the Venus video down below if you're interested about that. And so the North Node, on the other hand, we had Mars, Uranus, and the Node together in Taurus August 1st, and that was significant. I told you it's not going to show up right away, the massive changes that are happening. So really, this is a nice time to take a look around as the sun is squaring the nodes and consider, like, what is the big change that is happening? And you can see it everywhere. I mean, Mars retrograde brought us ChatGPT, and a lot of these AI products have been around for a couple years now, but they sort of really, ChatGPT became live just a month ago. But there's just been so much transformation. Everything kicked up gear. Everything just changed fundamentally. there is a massive struggle for power over the control over the new lay of the land. And one thing that I'll say, and I don't want to get too political, but for your personal well-being, I'm not saying this for a political reason, I'm saying this for your personal well-being. Be very careful how people are telling you things about putting your trust in them, putting your money in them, or whatever. Everybody's using the rhetoric of this is going to help people, but you want to really ask yourself, does the help people align to the values that I have about which people to help and how? Because help people could mean helping dictators. Help people could mean helping terrorists. Help people could mean helping corporations hurt children. And when these people say help people, they could be actually saying some very dark things. So I think a lot of people are listening to people in power saying, let's help people do this. But it's very important to consider who actually, think about what your values are, because always individually we're more well-meaning and we all mean well, but collectively we get lost. So when you're watching people, corporations tell you, virtue signal to you and tell you, help people do this, help people do that, ask yourself what your values are and if what they are doing is actually in alignment with what you feel to be the higher good, and only follow through with that. In other words, we're being manipulated in such an intense way by people who are trying to grab for this new structure of power that's emerging, and they're trying to manipulate you to feel let your guard down and actually work against your well-being. And they're going to try to make you feel shame and guilt for going against your betterment, or maybe the betterment of your family, the betterment of your community, because they will justify it through helping people. So you have to ask yourself, who are they asking me to help? And are they actually telling me to harm certain people? Are they shaming me to go along with something that's going to help bad people? Or there's no bad people in the world, but you know what I mean. So just ask yourself, what am I signing up for? Because this bending of the nodes, the structural change that Taurus North Node has brought is changing our lives, all of our lives, very, very quickly. And there is new power structures that are emerging, new things in the world that will give people resources and power. And they all want us to believe that they are the rightful authority over those resources and over those power structures. And you need to ask yourself if everybody, Satan, I'm just kidding, but Satan would convince you to help people while he's taking all the resources for his evil deeds, right? Sorry to all the Satanists out there, I'm just joking. But essentially really ask yourself, who's asking you for what? And I think that this is a good point with the midpoint, the sun in Aquarius, midpoint between the nodes, to ask yourself, who are you asking to go out of your way for? And what are you signing up for? What are you agreeing to? Okay? So that's all I really wanted to say about the sun in between, is that take a pause at this time and really consider where you are going. I think a lot of people are being led astray by bigger forces than their individual self-interest. And I think that people are being shamed or coerced or manipulated into going in directions because it's an unprecedented time, as it always is with North Node and Taurus. And so people are being funneled in directions, and you don't want to be down the road saying, hey, back in 2023, 2022, when they told me to go this way, I should have gone that way. So really sit with yourself. The second house of Taurus is my property. So focus on yourself. And so when we're in Aquarius here with the sun in Aquarius bending the nodes, you really want to ask yourself, what are you signing up for? Okay, so now we're going to go through all the signs. Do I have a volunteer for the dice? Is anybody interested in the dice or keeping track of the dice? Otherwise, I'll use the cards to keep the order. I also brought out these cards. If most of you guys know these are the Romance Angel cut. But I need someone to volunteer to keep track of the order of the dice. So if anybody is able to volunteer and keep order, then I can do it. Otherwise, I'll I'll do the cards. So we have the Romance Angels. Each sign will get a card, and we're gonna do kind of like a directional reading. So again, just to focus, we have the so I think we'll use hold on. So the sun is in this midpoint, and what I really want to for us to focus on is kind of centering and grounding and really considering where to from here. Okay. This, we can all do it together. I always need, maybe we'll do the cards. So from now on, if anybody wants to volunteer and keep track of the dice at the beginning of the reading, when we do the live, when we start, then go into chat and say, hey, Veroosh, I'm here. I can keep order for the rest of the reading. It means that you're available for 2 hours. That I'm doing this, because this usually takes under 2 hours, and you can keep track. So if somebody's available to do that, then we'll do that. Today we'll stick to the cards because it's not clear that somebody can do it. Okay, so let's do this. I'm excited because I think that this is a very important time, and so it's kind of personal check-in. Where are we going? Where are things changing? Where are you going to put down roots, and just kind of how things are emerging. Okay, so first we have Aquarius. Speaking of the devil themselves, so Aquarians, and I've told you, Aquarians, that this is a very specific time for you in your life, and so these cycles are about 20 years long. They're 18 years long. And so the sun is in your first house. For those of you who have sun in Aquarius, happy birthday. Saturn's leaving and going into Pisces, but still here. Saturn in the last degrees of Aquarius, or of any sign, is really about applying what you have learned. That's when it's almost like grade 11 and 12 in high school, or your final years of university. You've learned what you needed to learn, and you're applying what you've learned to show your expertise or your knowledge, or you're showing people how to do things. Okay, so your placements, wherever they are also bending the nodes at this time. And so for you, the greater pattern is introspection, pulling in, and you would have seen over the last few years a distancing from the world out there and really focusing in close to home, and that is driven by a desire to assert yourself. You've become a person of the other. Before this time, about 5 years ago, you became there for everyone else, and very little attention was spread to you, focus on you. And so therefore, this is a time in which you're just reminded to ask yourself, am I there yet? Am I in a space, in a public space, in which I'm being seen? Because in the group, it happens very often. People take advantage of you socially. And so people take advantage of you socially. And at this time, I just think that you are being reminded to ask yourself, have I adapted my social space enough to feel like I exist as an individual here? Or are they still missing the point? Are the people around me missing the point about who I am? Again, I'm going to switch the order because I like reading the tarot cards first before I really get into the astrology, but it was Aquarius, so I was excited, to tell them. I'm excited to tell Aquarius not to pick on Aquarius as a special sign, but because the bending of the nodes is happening in Aquarius, okay? So we have the Nine of Wands, and then we have the Three of Cups. See, the social, moving away from the social. It's where the self gets sort of hijacked by other people's energy. And so now there's this, the confrontation that it feels like is the question of whether or not people will be there for you when you need them to be. There's a fear that if you leave an Aquarius with enough resources where they can really not rely on other people, they're one of the two signs, Pisces being the other, that could easily leave all of us behind and never look back. But we are in a closed system together in Earth, and so therefore we have like real life problems that we need to address. And so Aquarians always struggle with social connectivity, meaning that they always force themselves to reconnect with people because they have to. Essentially, we all have to, but Aquarians really need to. They would be fine. And so there's always that fear or the temptation that, you know, if things happen in such a way, I could just really go away and never come back, walk into the wilderness and leave. And so there's that fear of, you know, there's the knowledge of it's not working, and knowing that the fear of the self, your own, the fear that you will choose to walk away from too many people. At the top is fairness and justice, and the question is, have the situations that you've been around have been fair to you, and have they been equitable? It really is saying that you're still biding time. And one thing, because of these positions right here, is that you really want to take your time. You really want to take some time and consideration. You don't have to rush at this time. You are essentially energetically here. It's, you know, the position station. So when Mercury turns station, between it goes direct and retrograde, there's like a day, all planets do. There's a moment where they're perceived as being stationary, meaning they're not really going back or forth in the sky. You're in a very similar energy here, where it's not really moving forward or back for you, Aquarius, and you're about to move forward. So you may feel as though there's a certain degree of discomfort about which way things go, and which way things are evolving. But you don't have to decide yet. So take it all in. Don't be too afraid of what may happen. It's going to work out. It always has worked out. And you have separated yourself because of justice. So there was a just reason for you to do the things you do. And so that is the foundation. And so we have a card, stay optimistic about your life. Positive thinking and faith will bring you romance. So I know it's the angels. You guys can take it as a love message, but this is the frequency. Stay optimistic. Don't freak out. You're not actually having to make a choice or a decision quite yet, Aquarius. I know you're feeling the itch that you have to, but you don't have to yet. Okay? Somebody's writing a long message. It's likely, if you write me something long, it's likely going to get missed. So I really recommend that you write me a comment once the video is posted, and then I can read all of your comments therein. If you guys want to have chit chat between each other, then please do so, but I can't engage one person while doing live. So I much better answer your question or statement once, I'm done. Okay, Virgo. Hey, Virgo. Okay, so I need to shuffle these more because that was the order from last night, although Aquarius and Virgo went last. So I'm glad you guys get to go first. So Sun, Moon, and Rising Virgo. First, let's do the cards. Sun, Moon, Rising Virgo. We have the Knight of Swords, See, Virgo's getting, this happened yesterday too with Venus and Pisces, this, you know, sharp tongue, talking, gossip in the environment. Okay. And then we have the Seven of Swords. Lots of swords, Virgo. And then we have, you've overcome something pretty great. So Virgos, the Taurus North Node in your 9th house is a big deal. And I've been telling you guys about this for a while. Uranus in your 9th house is a big deal. This is about you stepping over whatever problems are in your life. So as a bigger pattern, you're stepping over problems. You're stepping over circumstances that were hard to navigate before. And some of the people around you are really not going to like it. It really looks as though very recently you have energetically gotten past a very bad issue. So you have gotten past a very bad issue. And so you're gaining resistance at this time for regaining your strength. And so therefore you don't bother yourself with that energy. You have overcome something, and look, you have the Four of Cups, or Four of Wands, sorry. So the outcome of this is that we have a solution, a happy outcome. You get what you want. With this energy here, there may be struggle for Virgos at this time. You still may have problems that come up over the next little while, over the next few years. However, your general momentum is overcoming, and that's been the momentum for the last 2 or 3 years. So even though you may have had problems, the general pattern of things is to overcome and rise above and beyond. And so that's the reassuring thing for Virgos. As we are bending the nodes, the idea here is mind your own business, Virgo, and just stick to your own. Don't get wrapped up in the defense mechanisms that you had to employ before in dealing with situations, because previously you had to deal with certain circumstances a certain way in life because life was set up a certain way, and now that's changed. So you don't have to behave in the same way as you had before. You now have the opportunity and the ability to go above and beyond that energy. And so yours is a one of celebration. You have already achieved a certain milestone in your life. And so whoever it is sneaking around, this is not good energy. Whatever is sneaking around you is discomfort, uncomfortable with your position or with your strength. Okay? And so we have finances and career, Virgo. So stick to your own and mind your business. And I don't mean like mind your business in a contentious way. I just mean mind your business. I'm a Virgo. I'm not talking down to anyone. So financial lessons are a factor in your love life right now. So finances and career, rising above. Don't get stuck in the muck. If people are stressing you out, if they're challenging you, it's because they've seen you rise above and rise beyond. So good for you, Virgo, and just keep doing what you're doing. Okay? Queen Yari, are you keeping track of all the things? Because then we can switch to the dice if you are. I'm going to do the next reading. If you confirm that you can stick around to the end, then I'll switch to the dice, which is my preference. I think it's everybody's preference, or most people's. Okay, so let's see. This feels really good to be back, you guys. And I was like, oh, I can film this, privately and then post it. I'm like, no, I want to be live. I love being live with you guys. Okay, so Libra is next. Hi, Libra. Let's take a look at your energy. I'm going to switch the astrology to your chart. Okay, so Libra, sun, moon, and rising. Yeah, just... Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so the next person, we'll do away with the cards and we'll roll the dice. I just love rolling the dice because it's the air of unpredictability. It's so fun. Okay, and it gives me a time to relax. Today I'm actually quite slow and paced. Sometimes you guys know I just like the energy's just rushing through me. So today is chill, but okay, thank you so much, Yari. So we have the Four of Cups. And then we have the Three of Swords. And then we have the Page of Cups. And then we have the Death card. Okay. Okay, so I feel, well, there's definitely been an ending and a change. And I think you're still going to be dealing with the emotional implication of this, Libra, moving forward. So yeah, there's definitely been a very distinct ending in your life, a distinct change. Now, there are things that are rising up for you, relationships and possibilities that I think you're ignoring, honestly. So I think that there are things that are rising up for you that are good. There may not be over the top things, but they are something. And so let's say you broke up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, your partner, and there's other people who want to hang out with you, just friends, and you're like, I don't want to hang out with you. I'm not feeling it. This is the Four of Cups. This is the Page of Cups. I don't want it. It may not be love. It may not be a relationship, but there's other energy that is here for you, that is being given to you, that you're rejecting. And I think that's only going to make the heart worse. So this is a gentle reminder to be open to the people and things around you that are offering things to you at this time, because they're nice. They may not be the thing that you lost, because those big losses are tough, but they are something. So don't make it worse on yourself by rejecting people reaching out to you and giving you things, or emotionally being there with you. So let's look at this bending of the nodes, which is very, very nice. See, you're in the pattern of change. When the North Node goes through our 8th house, Libra, we may become very tired by the end of that transit. And remember, at the intro, I told you there was a massive conjunction between Uranus, North Node, and Mars. And so for you, that would have hit right in the center of your 8th house. And so therefore, you may be particularly tired. There may have been particular intense change from August until now, from August last year until now. And so therefore, you may be particularly tired. So this could be not lack of gratitude, but rather just being done with it. Maybe it may not be just one change, maybe just the velocity of change, or the how much change was going on. You know, maybe that caused you to be just out of it. It really feels like you've had your limit, which is not something to pick on people for or say you're not doing good enough, but it's a friendly reminder that you should try to open yourself up as much as you can, because, you know, if your friend's calling you to hang out because you broke up with someone and you say no, and then you sit alone and then you're sad by yourself and isolated as a consequence of it, it will feel worse than if you even if you were crying with your friend, or if you were whatever. So try to embrace the little things around you that are giving you positive things, positive. And remember, the 8th house transit of the 8th house, the North Node transit of the 8th house is a good thing. It's not, it's a necessary change. So whatever happened was what had to happen. So we have flirtation. So extend your lighthearted energy to others. Yeah, I really feel as though there's resistance for Libras at this time to embrace the minor things that are happening around them, because something big is overshadowing those little things. So those little things seem inconsequential, but you really want to try to be happy with the little things for now. Big things will come later, okay? All right, so yes, let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. So we have Gemini next. Okay, so we switch to the dice. I'm such a nerd with the dice, hey? Okay, so Gemini's next. Let's take a look at your tarot cards, Gemini. So we have the Three of Pentacles, work. And then we have a message with the Eight of Wands. And then we have walking away with the Eight of Cups. And then we have the Empress. So, with knowledge, influence. A female figure has influenced you quite a lot. Now, this could be your mother, depending on who this is. Or maybe your requirements as a leader figure, as a woman. So if you identify as a woman, or if you're really particularly connected with the Empress energy, Gemini, something within that role has required that you make certain changes, and that have motivated you to make a change. And so I think that there's something that's parallel to your work. However, the work is showing up as strong. Now, I did get the brief download that some people walked away from work because of compromised situations. However, some people are in a good space in work, and there's outside of work that things are changing. There's some important information that's coming through for Gemini, and so this important information is good to know. So, and it's encouraging. Eight of Wands is a very good card. So in other words, you made a choice to put things in a certain way, to arrange things in a certain way, Gemini, and now you're getting some positive news that's confirming that you put yourself out there by making a change, by switching something up, and now there are some positive things that are coming in for you that are easing the burden of making such a big change. Okay, and so when we're looking at the nodes with your bending with the sun, so the next couple months are a high point for you. We'll talk about this later, but Saturn transitioning into your 10th house is a really big deal. That's going to happen in March, so get your affairs in order by the end of March. I'm not saying something bad will happen, but your attention will be required to public things a lot moving forward. And so therefore you want to be very pragmatic with your time. And this is the calm before the storm. You have 2 months to prepare. So make sure to do that. But the sun is squaring the nodes in your 9th house. And so therefore the North Node being in your 12th house, the 12th house North Node transit is interesting. It has to do with like a personal change. You know, when you see someone after not seeing them for a while and they have totally changed, but you talk to them and they're like, I haven't changed. What do you mean? But you can see everything about them has changed. And when you talk to them for a little while, you realize that yes, a lot of things about them have changed, but they don't see it that way because the 12th house is the subconscious. This is what you're going through. So I think you may take for granted the amount of fundamental change that you're embracing at this time, Gemini. And that will really redirect your life over the next few years. It's a very nice transit, but it's very like coercive. It is very underneath the surface. And you may be very unaware of the fact that it's happening all around you at this time. And so with the sun in the 9th house at this time, it's if you are able to try to think to yourself, what are the beliefs and the ideas that I've had? What are the things that I, believe to be true? And has that changed? So keep asking yourself, like, did I think this way before? Did I think this way before? I think that there's new alliances that are coming up for you in the future, new work possibilities. There's new people at work that you're gelling with, that you're getting along with very well. There's just you're a new energy, and so you're finding that you're attracting different types of people, and you're getting different responses from others. So you might be thinking that you're going one direction, but I think you're going to end up going in a slightly different direction than you're expecting. So we have engagement, the love life, the love sorry, your love life, I'm reading this through the viewfinder. Your love life is ascending to a higher level of commitment. So it really feels as though there's something coming at you from the side, Gemini. So it's pretty exciting, and it's not what you expected. And I think it has to do with like a fundamental change that's happening for you in terms of who you are. Okay. But you may not be so self-aware that you're changing as much as you are. Okay. Okay, so next sign, Cancer. Hey, Cancer. So I think every single time I'll read for Cancer this year, I'll just say we're celebrating because Cancer is getting Pluto out of its 7th house. So congratulations, Cancer. So you must be really, really excited for that. So let's take a look at your astrology, your tarot cards, Cancer. Let's see what kind of message shows up. Okay, so we have the Lovers, which is Gemini's energy. That doesn't mean it has to be Gemini for you. 10 of Wands, something kind of heavy to carry. I like this card because in other decks, the 10 of Wands comes up as a burden. But look, he looks like he can handle this. Like it's hard work, but he's doing okay. He's, taking all those rods on and being able to handle it. 7 of Swords. Lilith and Leo, man, we're going to all be getting 7 of Swords all over the place. Lilith and Leo is no joke because it is the transit of the narcissist. I'm not saying if you have Lilith and Leo, you are a narcissist. You may attract a lot of narcissists if you have Lilith and Leo. But it's really, we're in the energy of narcissism, which means trampling other people with no consideration of who or what is underfoot. So this is the transit we're all under now in Leo. It's not an easy transit for Lilith. We have the Ace of Cups, and some people who have Lilith in Leo are narcissists, but usually people who watch tarot and astrology aren't narcissists because they're usually thinking about life and like what's going on for them and how to make it better and all that stuff. They're considerate. A lot of people who watch tarot and astrology are considerate. Okay, so Ace of Cups, Cancer is really exciting. It suggests that something has sparked for you with the Lovers there. It could be a problematic relationship of some kind that has already begun. When I say problematic, it could be weighed down with certain things. So there could be some aspects of it that are hard to manage. But like I said right away, the 10 of Wands suggests to me like there's something that you have to contend with. It's not specifically easy, but you're carrying on and keeping on down the road to achieve the things that you want to do. Below the surface is the 7 of Swords, which is you're contending with the way that people have betrayed you in the past. And so I think you're fighting the urge to run away from your situation. And I have to repeat this, so sorry for those people who watch all the time. But when I say relationships, we need to recognize that people have all sorts of different kinds of relationships, and we don't want to project onto other people our idea of what a relationship is. So therefore, when I say relationships, just apply it to whatever kinds of relationships are in your life. It does mean love, but it also means companionships, friendships, whatever kind of connections you have with people. So you should think abstractly about it when I suggest the Ace of Cups and the Lovers. It can mean romance, and it does look very romantic, to be honest, but not everybody's looking for love. Not everybody's comfortable with having a relationship of a romantic nature. So there's something going on for everyone, but in which way is independent, is individual. But it is weighed down by the fact that there has been people who have been untrustworthy around you. And I think you're really kind of cautious towards the current circumstances. And I think you're really struggling within yourself to feel comfortable or feel grounded, Cancer. But I think you're dealing with it. It's carrying the heavy burden and moving on, and just dealing with it and continuing on and just deal with it. be patient. If you're feeling triggered or upset, and you are just new with someone, or just you feel very intimidated in a relationship at this time, then just be patient. If that person, it's actually a good test of if a person is good for you or not, because if they cannot complement the fact that you're nervous, the fact that you're overwhelmed, or whatever's going on for you, it's likely that you're weeding them out by being that way. You're weeding out the people who were probably not going to be good for you in the first place. So have confidence that you're having a natural reaction, and this person, don't overwhelm them with anxiety or worry, but at the same time, know that that's normal and that's okay, and that person should be understanding of you, and you will be fine with them or without them. For now, enjoy this, but don't allow your worries or concerns ruin the good connection you have with someone at this time. So let's take a look at this bending of the nodes astrologically. And so for you, see, it could be very much friendship. It could be new friends, betrayal by old friends, betrayal by family also. And so that will get cleared up. If it's a family betrayal that's messing you up in relationships, when the South Node moves through Libra, that's going to really free you up. It's going to really allow you to be more free or be more independent. So hold tight. In July that starts. It looks like a big life pattern, and the sun is in the 8th house. So you have a real urge at this time to remodel, to rearrange things, to change people around in your life. So practice patience and don't pull the gun on ending circumstances that I think just you're pretty excited about. So yes. Okay, so let's pick a romance angel card. You have good chemistry with someone. And again, remember, this doesn't have to be love. This doesn't have to be a love affair, but there's something that is, you like it, and your past experiences are making you feel wearisome towards it. And I think that that's a burden you have to carry for the next little while, but you're going to get better at it, and you're going to move past it. And yes, this has a lot to do with Pluto leaving your 7th house. You've gone through 13 years of Pluto in Capricorn, and so the weight on your shoulders from that has been a lot. Okay, so give yourself some credit, give yourself a break, and that's very important to remind yourself. Many of you who are under 35, you don't even know an adult life, what it's like with Pluto not in your 7th house. So give yourself a break. You're about to embark on a whole new set of experiences, and the pressures you've been living under, they're going to really clear out. And those of you who are over 35, 15 years is a long time for an adult. So it's a huge chunk of your life. And if Pluto has done good things for you, that's great. But if it's made you feel very suppressed by its energy, then it's going to be good. It's going to feel very good. So we've done Aquarius, and then we have Virgo. Oh, I've done Virgo. And then we have Sagittarius next. Sun, Moon, and Rising. Sagittarius. Okay, so let's take a look at Sagittarius. Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's pull some cards. I like that for Cancer. Sun, Moon, and Rising Cancer. That's a message for you. Okay, so let's take a look. Thanks, Yari. Okay, so we have the Sun. We have the 4 of Cups. We have the Hermit below. And then we have the 5 of Cups below, behind. Okay. So you guys know that I switched this. This is more of a directional, like more of a wheel spread. It just gives us an idea of like ascendant, MCIC, and then descendant. right? Okay, so I think that you have found certain happiness, Sag, on your own after a somewhat of a disappointment that's been going on. And I do think that there are things coming your way that might be hard to see. But for now, you have found really nice happiness by yourself on your own. Or possibly if you know a Virgo, hey, a Virgo has brought you a certain degree of happiness. You have been disappointed by people. Sagittarians are really, they're very like proactive socially. Libra and Sag have a very similar energy, although I think Sagittarians are more, it comes more from their spirit, whereas for Libras it comes more through their reason. Sagittarians are really happy for other people to be happy. It doesn't take much for a Sag to really want happiness for others. And when you have a strength like that, which I think is a strength, when you see other people not necessarily being that way, I just feel as though it's a real bummer, and I think it adds up. And so I think you've been disappointed on that level by people quite a bit, and I think that you've in some way pushed back. Maybe with an Aquarian friend you can chit chat and find some understanding, but I think you've found some happiness in and of yourself. You really are a type of a person who can find happiness in the little things, and that's resilient. And so therefore, whatever happened in your life, you're finding great resiliency. The sun at the top is really beautiful. Whatever's going on in your life at this time, it's really lending itself to a good direction. So be excited about this. Somebody might be reaching out to you, but you might be over it in a situation. So they may be reaching out to you and saying, hey, what's up? But I think that you're on to new and better things. Okay, so let's take a look at the astrology and kind of consider this in the context of that. And so your North Node is in the 6th. Yeah, it's very practical. However, your sun is in the 3rd house. The 3rd house is like, let me sit in my garden and putter around. Let me walk down the street. I don't care. Like, I could see you just being low key, you know, and being very low key at this time, sticking to yourself, happy as a clam. If somebody's hitting you up that was problematic before, I just think you found your own source of happiness that is much better than what anybody else has to offer. And especially people who were with you through the disenchantment. Like, so if someone, you were like, why are they doing that? Whatever disenchantment you move past, I don't think it's so easy for you to align with it, resonate with it. Okay, so let's take a look at the message. We have the flirt card, happiness. So extend your lighthearted energy to others. I could see you very happy in your neighborhood, you know, just like at the local coffee shop, at the, you know, local grocery store or whatever, just having like these little interactions with your mailman, you know, whatever, mail person, sorry. But whoever you're interacting with in like a very little way, it's just easy, just living life. The other thing that I'm picking up on, and this is more of a download, that many people wanted something from you. So they wanted to have a piece of you, to have a piece of what was going on for you for such a long time. And that became very intrusive and predatory. So you like these very lighthearted and fun interactions at this time because people have been intruding upon you. So you just, this is really healing and healthy and happy. So close to home, kind of quiet time. And it's not going to be quiet forever, but I don't think that your interests are outside of the simple things at this time. I think that you're really focused and happy where you're at. I don't think you're really quite ready to go back in the mix of things. I think that, you know, you've had a taste of some negative things and you're not, you've been kind of turned off of them for now. Okay. So next sign is Capricorn. Hey Capricorn, how's it going? Let's take a look at your chart. It's pretty exciting though. So yeah, no, and Sagittarius has been getting low-key readings for a while, but this is much more, I think you're on right before things start moving again. I think that's where you're at, but I don't think you're there yet. I think you're still just chilling out. Okay, so Capricorn, let's see your cards. So we have the Lovers, Gemini, and then we have the Pentacles, Seven of Pentacles. And then we have the Five of Wands. And then we have the Hermit before. So Capricorn has been, yeah, so, you know, there's certain things, when I read for you guys, there's certain things I say and there's certain things I don't say. And Capricorn is one of those signs where I didn't say, maybe I've let it out a few times, but I really have avoided saying this, which I feel I can say that to you now because it's coming to an end. So one of the reasons I don't say certain things at certain times is because I don't think they'll lead to anything good. And I don't think it'll help. If anything, I think that they will, like me saying something will put a damper on things, or be misunderstood, most likely. So I think you've been in an isolated phase for a very long time, several years, since like before pandemic. And so I think that there's been an ongoing pattern of isolation. And I think it's coming to an end. I think it's different isolation than just sitting in a cabin in the woods. This is the type of isolation where you have a lot going on, alone in a crowd type isolation. And so, of course, you understand why I didn't mention it before. I didn't want to make people feel anxious or worry. And so there's nothing helpful about saying that. I think I said it in different terms before, but I didn't want to say, hey, you're going to be isolated or whatever, right? So I think that the bottom line for Capricorn is that whether you are around people or not, there has been a pervasive pattern of isolation, okay? And that's okay. And I think that you're sort of uncomfortable with it because partly it's not self-directed. It's partly self-directed. You choose at times to be alone, but it's also partly due to circumstances around you that you don't have control over. And so you've been sort of waiting it out, Capricorn, and that's going to come to good fruition. That's going to come to good outcomes. So I like this for you. I'm happy for you in seeing that. This also appears to be some type of important relationship here that is carrying you through. So there may be one person or a couple different people with whom you form close relationships with that are really carrying you through this uncomfortable phase of sort of being alone. And so you know, so this isn't like a curse. I'm not telling you this moving forward. You would know this already at this time, that that's what's happening in your life. And so just waiting for time to get better, waiting for things to improve. And there's probably one other person or a couple other individuals with whom you're bonding through this time who are giving you that social juice to get through it. Okay. So in terms of your astrology, we have Sun in the second house, and that really correlates strongly with the Seven of Pentacles and the North Node in the fifth house. And this is probably really correlating strongly with the restlessness. You've been probably restless since the beginning of last year when the North Node entered Taurus. In other words, you, on some level, you're okay. You understand why it is the way it is, and you wouldn't change it because that works best. However, there's a restlessness. There's a desire to mix things up, to change things up, to do things a little bit more vividly. You can't wait until there's more freedom. You can't wait until there's an ability to live your life in a more in a different way. You're doing what you have to do to achieve a certain outcome. And so that's where you are at this time. Still in some way making sure your foundation is good. This is the sacrifice that you're making for a really good outcome. And I like this for you. There's another person. This could be romantic, or this could be like a friend-based situation where you're really like trusting someone. This could be a best friend. This could be a family member. This could be someone who you're putting a lot of faith into, with whom you can really trust them, and it's a good thing that they're there for you. And like I said, it could be one or two people, which means it could be two very close friends of yours. It could be, you know, someone with whom you work that's really lifting you up. There's a close connection with one or two or three other people independently. And then getting to know each other. As you reveal your innermost selves to each other, your bond deepens. So there's definitely, you're getting that autonomy and that space to get to know someone better, to get closer with someone, to just really form a good bond. And it's coming for really good outcomes. I really like this for you. I know it's not been easy, but I think it's for a good outcome. Okay? Okay. And then we have Taurus next, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Taurus, let's take a look at your astrology and tarot. So, Taurus. Okay, so let's see. Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's see your placements. So we have the Seven of Cups. That's Venus in Scorpio. It's a little bit of illusion in your life going on at this time. Then there is the King of Pentacles. That's you. You're going to see through it. And then we have the Emperor. Ooh, Taurus, look at you go. So you're in a powerful position at this time, Taurus, and I think that there's things around you that are somewhat fuzzy or sometimes hard to see. I am getting the download that you're in such a powerful position, Taurus, that certain people are causing confusion around you. And they're doing this because of your power. The power of who you are, the power of your position is so intimidating to people around you that they're causing confusion because they're so intimidated by your energy here. There's been certain decisions and changes that you've made in the recent past, the Two of Pentacles. And so now you're moving forward. Very, very strong cards. I do also get the combination, the Emperor and the King of Pentacles does suggest that there is a person with whom you could be deeply bonded. And this person is giving you grounding. So, which means that in a confused time in your life, and I don't mean confused like the outside world could be confusing at this time, and we'll talk about that more in terms of astrology. But there's someone around you who's like very grounded and very trustworthy, or someone who's like your how do you say this? The person you can rely on. Okay, I'm thinking bedrock. No, what? I don't know. You know what I mean. I forget the term. But anyway, so the sun squaring the nodes or bending the nodes is actually in your 10th house, and Saturn is in the 10th house as well. This is where I think a lot of the confusion is happening. Also, Pluto switching signs in 2 months, and then later next year in January. This is such a huge thing. You're getting one of the biggest transitions of them all, to be sure. And so Pluto entering your 10th house is huge. I think everybody has instincts, everybody has intuition, and I think that the things that are coming for you that are so powerful are frankly going to be very intimidating to others. And so therefore Pluto switching signs is overwhelming, and also Pluto switching signs is overwhelming, and Saturn in the 10th house can be a challenge. That is when at times there are circumstances that arise in which we are confronted with outside things that are a challenge for us, in the end, we are empowered by them, but as it's happening, it can be frustrating. It could be suddenly your job, your crappy job, a bad manager gets hired and you get stuck with someone terrible over you. It could be lots of different situations, particularly of the work kind, but you could find yourself in lots of different things that may have already been happening because this is the last 2 years. But with Saturn in the 10th house, it's whatever house Saturn is in, it's always preparing you for something really special or very important. So don't worry, Taurus. The confusion is okay. I know it feels very uncomfortable. There's been a fair bit of change possibly around your circumstances, but this, whatever's coming, it's either you that's very powerful, or there's someone around you who's someone you can really rely on, really wonderful energy of trust and power and strength. It could be both. It could be you are that energy, and also you have someone who is, seeing you through it. But this is mustering. The outside world feels uncertain. The outside world feels full of confusion. And I actually think it's because all these people with all their instincts, like I was saying, I think they sense that there's something really, you're coming into your own with something, Taurus. And I think that certain people, we all sense this within each other, and the wrong people also have these instincts, and so their reactions are poor when they're doing that. Okay? So I like this. Yari's earned her keep. She likes this message, I think. So Yari's keeping track of all the readings today, and she says she's a Taurus. So there you go, Yari. Congratulations. Let's take a look at the astrology. So yes, definitely pulling power within yourself. Again, for Tauruses, the key date is August 1st or end of... This isn't a reading for Yari, by the way. It's kind of chit-chatting. But the North Node with Uranus and Mars at the end of July 2022 or August 1st is a date you really want to pay attention to. Not specifically that date in and of itself, but I think that things changed for you at that time, and it's kind of important to keep looking back and seeing what's coming, into your corner. With the sun here, this could actually be a moment in time that whatever disruptions Saturn has brought into your life, especially in the area of like work or public spaces, the sun is going to bring you some rising out conclusion. So if you've been trapped in a bad job, you might find a good job this month. If you've been in precarious work type situations, social dynamics, the truth might come out. Whatever it is might be really lifted by the sun's transit at this time, this month, before the end of February, okay? Okay. And then we have children, some new energy with children, nothing in the 5th house. But whenever I read this deck for kind of not only romance, but also other types of readings before, children was also childish behavior in others. And when I see Saturn in the 10th house, it makes me feel like you're the only adult in that space. Your love life is being affected, like the interruption of children. So yes, children, you could be navigating childish situations. I spoke about this yesterday about Venus, or 2 days ago with Venus in Pisces. So for at this time, it's important to remind ourselves that through these precarious times that we're in, this is where people show their true colors. When the world is great and everybody's doing well and people act well because everything's fine, that's one thing. But when things get tough and people get stressed out, especially over longer periods of time, as we've seen, we really see their true colors come out, what they're really like underneath all that pretense or all those other things. And so maybe at this time we're all dealing with like heightened amount of bad behavior because it's been a tough time. And so therefore more people are prone to act poorly towards others. And so, yes. So it may not be so bad, but I think, Taurus, you're fine, and I think you're working your way through it. You're working through the minutia or whatever's been created, and you're definitely coming out on top within a few months. Okay, I like this for Taurus. Solid. And Jupiter's coming into your sign, so that's great. Gemini. Scorpio's next. We haven't done Scorpio yet. So Scorpio is one of the 3 signs that we're focusing on today. So Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius, right? So we've done all 3. Now we're going to take a look at Scorpio's chart and do their tarot. Let's see. So we have the Empress. That's Venus. 2 of Cups. Ooh, so we are getting a bit of a love reading. That's what I thought when I said Venus, and I didn't say it because I was like, no, Veroosh, don't say it, because I don't know why. 10 of Swords. I like 10 of Swords right now. Closure. And then we have Knight of Swords. Ooh. Well, definitely, if you've had people, Scorpio, if you had someone saying mean things to you in the past, and those mean things or the consequences of those mean things have been with you, I think that you've really moved past it. And I think you're opening the door to new relationships, positive relationships, and all sorts. It does look romantic, but for those of you who are not interested in love, it could be, love with your children, or love from your mother, or love with female archetypes in your life. So whoever represents this maternal Empress energy. And then we have the 10 of Swords. Like I said, 10 of Swords feels very freeing. And this is really in alignment with your South Node in Scorpio at this time. The last year may have not been the easiest for you emotionally because you've been pushed by life to confront those deep, deep things. But I think now you're, almost there. July is when the nodes change, so you still have a few months before that happens, but you're almost there, and hopefully the brunt of whatever you've been confronting has been worked through. These are hard things to confront, and in the first house, it's like it's so close to home that it's intense. Okay, and then we have the squaring of the nodes. This is pushing you right into a relationship. That's the nodes right now. And as we're squaring the nodes, bending the nodes, midpoint of the nodes in the 4th house, you're finding your place. You're finding your place of stability and comfort, so that you don't have to survive anymore. You don't have to be on survival mode anymore. And we are taking our perfectionist hat off. Perfectionist hat is the tendency in astrology and tarot for people wanting some benchmark moment to overcome everything. That's not how life works. But there is a significant trend at this time for an improvement at this time. So you're never going to be past all your problems. If you ask somebody who's 100 years old, they have problems. If you ask somebody, the oldest person on earth, I'm sure that they have something that's bothering them. So don't ever expect a life without problems. However, I think that there's a really positive trend towards the uplift now, and really moving past harmful situations that had brought down your temperament, towards a much more warm and welcoming and loving energy. Let's take a look at your cards. We have Retreat, which is it is time to disconnect from the world. I think that there's someone who has been stressing you out, and it is stressing you out in the form of harsh words, or being unkind, or being cruel, or being harsh in some way. And so now there's a retreat, and you're moving, you're now available to the right person. You're now available in the right direction. I really like this for you. And again, take a look back to August 1st, 2022. What has emerged since then? You've turned over a new leaf in some way. You've turned over a new energy. Okay? That's very, very exciting for Scorpio. Good luck. I'll be back soon with more. Okay. Geminis we've done. Libras we've done. Aries we haven't done. Hi Aries, welcome to my channel. Let's take a look at the energy for Aries. I'll just set up the chart. Okay, so let's see. Aries, Aries, Aries. Jupiter is in your first house. That's always good. Jupiter's in your chart. Always exciting. We have the Two of Pentacles. Change. Aries has been for a long time. So this is the last 2 months in which Pluto is in your 10th house. This could lead to like a huge overcoming moment in terms of your work or some kind of rise to excellence moment. There is confusion, Seven of Cups. And we have the there's someone around you who's distracting you in this critical time, and you have to remove them. I'll tell you right away, there's a minor energy, a pesky minor energy that is getting in your way. And it could be conscious, or it could be just completely not self-aware. So it could be actually actively trying to make you displaced from your energy. So it could be coveting you or wishing that it had your circumstances, or undermining you in some way, or its presence could be just a distraction and causing quite a bit of confusion. Remove this energy from your life. Stop interacting with it. It's a minor distraction, but it's necessary for you to focus. You've always also had some certain amount of change at this time that's really brought in some different dynamics into your sphere of influence. And so you don't want someone who's detracting from that on an emotional level and causing you to be unable to confront the things that you need to confront to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Okay, Aries, so that's a bit of a warning, but it's not a bad one. And it doesn't feel like it's a terrible thing. It just feels like, the friend who's retired asking you on a Wednesday if you want to go for cocktails at noon and you have to work. It's the friend, that's the idea. So somebody, it may be very innocent, but it's not working. Whoever it is or whatever it is, it's not working for you. Okay, so next we have the astrology. And so for you, the focus is the second house. See, these transits, they're not going to last. Pluto is going to leave your 10th house in March, and the North Node is going to leave your first house by July. This is very critical. You're getting a real opportunity here for making money, for achieving your goals. So whatever's distracting you, do not let it. You also do get a good transit later on this year when Jupiter enters Taurus in your second house. And so you'll have that for the next year. But right now with the North Node there, I would not be risking it. I would not be risking the good energy and the good vibes of this time for you for petty little things that are unnecessary. Okay? So eye on the prize, Aries. I hope you guys are doing good. Okay. And then we have past life relationship. You have known each. So maybe something from the past is coming up. Maybe something is nagging at you. You've grown past it, but it was something that was very overwhelming at a period in your life in the past. And yeah, so whatever it is, there's a distraction. Remove it as quickly as possible. You don't have a lot of time to achieve the things you want. I mean, you have your whole life ahead, but what I'm saying is astrologically, the timeline is very short. And so the real sweet spot is now. So I'm just telling you now, Aries. Okay, So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we have 2 more. Does anybody know which ones? Cancer, Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Pisces we haven't done. And Cancer, no, we have Pisces. So does anybody know who's the last sign after Pisces? If you could help, that would be great. So Leo. Okay, thanks, Julie. Okay. So Pisces first. Hi, Pisces. Leo's going to get a weird reading because I'm reading for Pisces before. I love Pisces so much. Oh my goodness. When a Pisces gets a reading with me, like a personal, it's so great because it's so weird. Okay. So let's see. So we have the Tower first. You're the first one to get a Tower. I don't know if you guys saw my TikTok, but I think I'll post it on YouTube as well. But I talked about Venus and Pisces, and I didn't say this in Venus in the Pisces video, but I realized it while doing the Venus and Pisces video just 2 days ago. I think that the astrology is pointing to the fact that a holy person may be born about February 15th of this year. And by holy person, I mean something of like a Jesus or like some kind of spiritual teacher may be born at this time. And I'll explain this in the video, so go watch the video. But yeah, the Christian Abrahamic religions are associated with the age of Pisces 2,000 years ago when we had the age of Pisces. We're in the age of Pisces now, but the age of Pisces began, and with that started with Jesus's ministry, right? And Christianity is a derivation of Judaism, right? And so Jesus and Christianity initially were associated with the fish. They were called the fish. That's why in many Christian or Catholic traditions, they eat fish symbolically. It's a representation of Christianity. And so in early Christianity, there was an explicit correlation symbolically between fish and Jesus and Christianity. And so there's this special conjunction that happened last year in Pisces on April, what was it? April 23rd or no, April 29th. Maybe that date is a little off, but it's April 27th, 29th or something like that. And it was the conjunction of Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter. And the further we get away from it, the more I realize how freaking random and impossible that conjunction was. It was exactly at Venus's exaltation degree. So every single planet has an exaltation sign, right? So for Venus, that's Pisces. But the exact degree is only 1 degree in the entire zodiac at which a planet is exalted. This conjunction happened at the conjunction between Venus and Jupiter happened exactly at the 27th degree of Pisces, while they were both still conjunct with a few degrees separation from Neptune. And that's very significant because Neptune and Jupiter are both of Venus's rulers, and Venus is the only sign that's exalted in Pisces. So that conjunction led the way to this year, and now we're going to have a second conjunction with Venus and Neptune on February 15th. And so I think that has something to do with, something holy is happening. So yeah, I hope it's good. I hope since putting that out there, I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm a little obsessed with it. And since putting that out there, I really feel that the world is ready for a new... I think that religion is going out, essentially. That's just my personal view. Don't hate me for it. But before it does, I think that there's going to be phases. Like, it's not going to go out in a day. And I feel like we're ready for a new wave of Abrahamic religions before it deconstructs into the age of Aquarius, which is several hundred years away. And so I think that maybe we're ready for this new holy person to come in, which is interesting also because Saturn, I should do a dedicated video to this, but Saturn is entering Pisces also over the next 2.5 years, I think that there's going to be a huge confrontation in religion over the next 2.5 years. I don't think it's going to be the end of any religion, but I do feel as though we're going to see the prequel, like the preview to what's to come, which is the deconstruction of all traditional religions. But that's several hundred years from now, so it's not going to be in our lifetime. But I think the next 2.5 years, we're going to see a prelude to it, which means that in a minor way, we're going to see the end of some of these systems and when Saturn goes through Pisces. So I think it's all working together in this magical way for religion to be also confronted, but also have an emergence of a new spiritual teacher. And I think many of these Abrahamic religions need that. I think there's been a crisis in belief and all of that. So if you're religious, I'm not trying to speak against you. I'm more of a secular person, kind of when I'm discussing it, but I do have respect for your belief. And I think that when I see that, I don't think I've ever seen a transit where it feels so much like a manifestation of a new holy person. And they don't have to be Abrahamic. So if they could be East Asian or African, or South American, or indigenous to one part of the world. But I think like a Jesus type figure might be being born in the next couple weeks. So we have the 5 of Cups. Hopefully I'll get to live to see them, do their thing and be like, yeah, that's that person. Okay, 5 of Cups. Pretty exciting stuff, I would say. And then we have the 9 of Wands. Okay, so speaking of getting weird, I hope you guys don't mind that I got a little weird for you. So we have the 5 of Cups, 10 of Wands. I just feel as though these are hard cards, you guys. Definitely a confrontation has happened. The implications of this is the Tower in your life and in your world, Pisces. And I feel like you're still gathering yourself after the shock. And I think you're absorbing the consequences on your life. I think you're absorbing the implications of that on your life, but I think you're moving on. It's the first day after you break up with someone, and the first day after you break up with someone is really hard because it's really weird to feel independent and not a part of a couple anymore, and it feels so weird. It's the first steps of independence. So there's definitely, you're in that moment in which something really difficult happened, Pisces. You've had some time to think about it, but it still hurts. And the outside world stuff, it feels very messed up. But you're going to work your way through it and you're going to find your place in it. So that's the energy you're in. This isn't going to happen to you. This has already happened to you. This is where you are at now. And so Venus has entered Pisces. This is a wonderful transit. It's kind of the beginning of Pisces season. I'm very excited for that. We have the North Node in the 3rd house, South Node in the 9th house. You're probably very likely withdrawn at this time. Something has changed the playing field around you and the outside world around you. And so I think that at this time, a change has already happened and you are contending with it. Saturn's about to enter into Pisces. I think that this is connected with Saturn and Pisces already. And so this isn't Saturn and Pisces yet. The consequences of what just has happened will play out while Saturn is in Pisces, and you will be fine. I think it was a hard change, a hard shift, and I think it's a tough going at this time, but I think you're going to get through it. I definitely know you're going to get through it. And the purpose of what you're doing now, this self-directedness, the purpose of what you're doing now, it's the hard work that you're putting in, to be honest. You're putting in the hard work to get to where you need to go. it's not an easy spread, and it's not an easy moment for you. We have passion, so allow your heart and soul to sing with joy. I really don't like victim gaslighting, saying, oh, you'll be fine, that kind of stuff. It's really problematic. But I do think that, I think it's good. I think it's a tough time, but I think it's good. And I think that it's going to get you going in a far better situation. And yeah, it's those first moments when things have changed and you're dealing with like harsh things for the first time. The playing field has changed, but you're going to be completely okay. And you just put some passion into your way forward, and put some passion into your way, chin up. You've got this. You're going to overcome this. You're going to rise above it. Okay? So pretty exciting. So yeah, so if that person gets born around February 15th, they'll be like an Aquarius with a Pisces in Venus in Pisces. So that's pretty exciting. So you'll be connected to that holy person. And I don't mean some middle of the road holy person. I mean like Jesus type of holy, okay. Holy cannoli, holy moly. Okay. I had to do it. I'm sorry. Okay. So let's take a look at the Leo transits. And I want to say thank you to Yari for sticking it out and helping me to provide this for you guys. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. So we have the Knight of Swords for Leos. This is the last sign. Meow, meow, Leos. Oh, you got a tower too. And then we have the Seven of Wands. And then we have the Ace of Cups. Interesting. Whenever you see Aces of Cups with towers, it's not what you think it is. It means like an unexpected love affair, or, love out of nowhere sort of thing. So it's not necessarily such a bad thing. Well, someone may not like that you have found someone else. So someone else might be troubled by the fact your attention's directed at someone else or towards someone else or in a different direction. There's definitely someone, Leo, coming towards you with friction, but you're sticking your grounds. There's a lot of Knight of Swords action going around. Have you guys noticed? There's a lot of Knight of Swords poking around, being a menace, and causing issues across the board here in that direction. But I don't think anybody's listening. I don't think anybody's paying attention. It's almost like the person who's trying to cause grievances or conflict about something that everybody's moved on from. So I think that you're in that situation, Leo. Hold your ground. Don't entertain the energy. You're fine. And who is this love interest, or who is this new person in your life? They might be good. Let's take a look. See, you have the sun in the 7th house. So there's something good that's manifesting, a good relationship that's coming into being. And you're moving ahead in your direction. There is something, Leo, Lilith in the 1st house. Just be careful. Leo, this is, I have, I'm a Leo Virgo sun. So I'll tell you, I'm not patronizing you. But don't wear your heart on your sleeve so much at this time. It's going to entice the bad people to come after you, particularly in your celebrations of where life is taking you at this time. I love when Leos celebrate life, when they're happy for what they have. I just love seeing it. But I don't think that everyone is necessarily going to receive it the same way, and not everybody's going to treat you, well because of that. And so this looks like somebody is causing trouble, and you have better things to do. And with Lilith in your 1st house, this is a once in 10-year transit. This doesn't come around often. And so you have to just wait it out. And this includes your celebrations, your success, and all those kinds of things. Keep it on the low. I know you get excited, but I don't think everybody celebrates your successes or feels your successes in the same way you do. And it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because there's likely something wrong with their affect, their feelings, or whatever. People who begrudge others' happiness is just gross, but they do it. And so you need to know how to get around it. And with Lilith just entering Leo at this time, you really want to make sure that you're not getting yourself into like a 10-month situation where you're navigating someone who's constantly at you for being happy. Okay. But conversely, Sun is in the 7th house. So there is good companionship. The people who are good, you will know. The people who are good, you can confide in and tell them your successes and happinesses and all these things. But be careful of wearing it on your sleeve. Be careful of, just showing the masses, because the masses will, there will be a it's always the minority. It's always the 5% who are like this, but they ruin it for the rest of us, right? There's always like the minority who's the terrible energy. It's not the majority of people. The majority of people want good for others and they're happy and all that good stuff. Getting to know each other. Yeah, you have to. And this could be like an ex unhappy with the new love you found, trying to undermine it. So be very, very protective of your new things and give it some time. Keep showing yourself up in this situation. This could be that ex-boyfriend who, you know how ex-boyfriends tend to call the moment that you meet someone new? So this could be this type of situation, so whatever. So this person's showing up, but just keep them out of the way. And like I said, these Knights of Swords, these people, they don't have to be air signs or any sign. This person who's just getting in the way, it's about something that everybody's moved past, and they don't get that. So they're constantly still stuck in a rut, and so just leave them alone. Okay? You guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for enjoying this. I hope you liked it. And I'll be back with more. It's nice to be back, and you guys are so welcoming and so nice to hear back from you. I hope you guys have a nice Sunday, and we will talk soon. Take care. Somebody said, I haven't met anyone yet. It doesn't have to be love, remember. So relationships mean all kinds of relationships. And Yari, thank you so much for your help. You were so kind for stepping in. Take care.